Okay. Sorry, folks. My computer was acting up, and so I apologize for being a couple minutes late here. So I hope that didn't inconvenience anybody too much, but it was extremely aggravating to try to get my computer to turn on and so forth. So thank you for your patience. So with that being said, I hope people don't think I'm not going to show up now. So how you doing, Jules? So let me get this going. Hi, Henry. I'm going to pull this up. Wait a minute or two, and then we should get going. Yeah, I don't know what happened, folks. It was just kind of weird. Let me see. Good evening, Donna. And let me see what's going on here. Hello, Celicia. And let me see here. Just how was everybody's day? Hey, Mason, how are you? Hello, Holly. Hey. Okay. Hello, Gretchen. Got my hair all over the place. I'm late. It's like it reminds me of that movie. What was it called with Eddie Murphy? I think it was. What's the movie with Eddie Murphy when he gets out of jail? I am having a very bad day. I think it was. What was it called? Does anybody remember? Oh no, I know. I'm just joking around. But there was like a great line from that. Mine was good, Dallas. Thanks, Maria. I appreciate being forgiven. I'll take all the forgiveness. It wasn't Trading Places. It was, I think it was another 48 hours. Was it another 48 hours? I think that was it. Where he came out of jail and he had a Porsche. Somebody blew up his Porsche. Anyways, that was a pretty funny movie. So let me see here. Okay, so let's just jump right into it, folks. So today was all about a lot of sacrifice, and in particular, sacrificing healthy animals. And I was thinking about this, and Nick Nolte was in the movie as well. But I do think it was another 48 hours. And so then, looking at this whole concept in Leviticus, yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. Happy birthday, Maria. Hope you have a wonderful day. And so, this is the procedures for the burnt offerings. So this is in particular, these sacrifices that were made, before the tabernacle of, a bull, sheep, or goats. They had to be done a specific way. And if you notice in the reading, they repeated the reading on each one of the animals that was being sacrificed. So it was pretty much the exact same language. So instead of just saying, hey, you can sacrifice any of these three animals in this particular way, and let's get these things properly burnt and so forth, it was kind of interesting, to say the least. And so slaughtering the young bull in the Lord's presence and Aaron's sons, the priests, the animal's blood would be splattered against all the sides of the altar at the entrance of the tabernacle. And then the skin of the animal was cut into pieces. And then basically they'd build a fire, they'd take the organs, they'd take the fat around the organs, and they would burn it. And this was a pleasing aroma to the Lord and so forth. And so I thought it was interesting because I was thinking about this concept. If you're going to burn an animal as a sacrifice to the Lord and so forth, which part of the animal makes the most sense? And, for any of you who have ever burned the fat, this is what I would suggest. I've shown my kids this. So we have a fireplace in the house, and sometimes, we do cook bacon. I don't know about you guys, but I love bacon, and I try to make sure it's not bought from China, because I don't really trust any Chinese company selling us any kind of food for that matter. I'm not sure what the hell they're putting into the food that they sell us, if they do sell any food here, or they own any food company. So I try to avoid any food produced by a country that violates the rights of its own citizens on such a massive scale as China. Okay, with that being said, you can buy a nice little thing to cook bacon. It's like a little metal grate that it's kind of wavy, and it cooks the bacon really nice. And if you put aluminum foil under it, by the way, I really recommend you make sure that if you have aluminum foil, there might not be as much aluminum in aluminum foil as you would think. There's a lot of other chemicals that if you do burn it, it could become toxic, which is something I learned when I'm like, wait a second, this aluminum is in the oven, and you're telling me that the fumes could get toxic if you burn aluminum. So then I'm sitting there thinking, well, I'm burning this aluminum is being heated with bacon above it. So are those toxic fumes from the aluminum flowing up to the bacon? Anyways, this is the kind of stuff that pops into my head. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I'm just looking something up just to see if there was, because what I did is I took my aluminum foil, and there was a bunch of bacon fat on it, okay? A lot of bacon fat on the aluminum foil. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want the bacon fat to go to waste. I'm not going to eat it. Sometimes I would save the bacon fat and you could pour it into a jar. And my mom showed me that as a kid. By the way, it's awesome to cook eggs with bacon fat. There's nothing better than that. Much better than butter, folks. Take bacon fat, put it onto a stove, heat it up. It melts like butter. And you put the eggs in. But, after you put onions in, of course. But anyways, so I take this aluminum foil. I got all this fat on it. Throw it into the fire, and if you look at fat, and when it burns like a candle. It's like a very high, strong flame, and it actually bursts up. So Maria, to answer your question, when you burn fat, it is a really intense heat, and it's a really glowing flame. Give it a shot sometime, especially if you take fat and put it on wood. So if you have wood for a fireplace, and you really want to set that sucker on fire, take some bacon fat, or any kind of fat for that matter, and you'll see it kind of go up pretty fast. But anyways, I put this aluminum foil in there on the side of the wood because I wanted to kind of burn off the fat into there, and it's just smelled god awful. Like it was like, I don't mean to use the Lord's name in vain here with saying God. It just smelled horrific. This aluminum was so bad. I was like, is this dangerous? I'm smelling this aluminum. It just smelled so bad. And then I'm sitting there thinking, but I'm cooking with this aluminum foil. I put this stuff in the stove, and it's under my fish, and it's under my bacon. So if it's smelling this bad, is it possibly toxic? So anyways, make a long story short, I think I need to just go to parchment paper. And I hope that stuff isn't laced with Teflon, because Teflon's its own problem. And then it's supposedly Teflon is all over into our blood supply because of all the crap that they did to that to really mess up our internal processes, because there's nothing that really sticks to it. But anyways, there you go. I found out that the non-stick stuff is toxic. You're right. The Teflon is toxic. And so then the parchment paper. So you might just have to go old school, man. We might just have to go back to stainless steel. Just get out the Brillo pad and just scrape it off. So anyways, all I can tell you is that's why fat is burnt. Okay. I know this is a long-winded answer. My wife's over here doing some work and she's laughing. So much for explaining why there's bacon, why this fat is being burned. But keep in mind, folks, I'm not going to repeat this 3 times. So if you look at Leviticus, they talked about the bacon, not the bacon. They talked about the fat and the organs being burned 3 different times on each type of animal. I'm only going to tell you this story once with regards to bacon fat. Okay? So anyways, give it a shot sometime. You'll see for yourself how much fat burns. Now, with regards to organs, I want you to think about this, folks. You cook a steak, right? You ever cook a steak on the grill, right? It takes a lot to get a steak to go on fire. I mean, a steak is pretty thick. The reason why burgers will start to kind of get charred or burn is because there's a lot more fat in the meat that you make a burger with than a steak. And granted, the edge of a steak has fat, you'll start to see it char, and that's usually the part of the steak that kind of catches on fire. It's the part with the fat. Okay, let's talk about organs. So when you think about organs, a lot of people don't know this. I happen to know it because I researched liver cancer. There's somebody I knew that had liver cancer, and liver. I didn't know this, right? Because you don't really know. I never went to medical school, but when I was researching the different types of treatment for liver cancer, and they've made massive progress with sound waves to treat cancer. The liver, believe it or not, is kind of like the consistency of a sponge cake. So it's like very like fluffy. And so you imagine if you took a sponge cake and you had some cancer in the sponge cake, and then you try to cut into the sponge cake to get the cancer out, you can note you would be like, wow, it's gonna be a big problem. You kind of trying to cut a sponge cake is going to kind of fall apart and become super brittle, which is why a lot of those cancers were a death sentence. If you had liver cancer, 5-10 years ago, maybe longer, you were done. Like you had 4 to 6 months to live. They couldn't really do anything for you. It's really hard to get a liver. I think Mickey Mantle even died because he couldn't get a liver. So, not that I watch baseball, but, BLM. Oh, wait, MLB, Major League Baseball, BLM. Anyways, just my wife's like, hey, don't talk about the BLM. Anyways, this is talking about the Bible in light of current events in the world, though. So, anyways, with regards to organs, whether it be the kidney, the liver, all these other types of organs, if you dry them out, right, they become kind of like brittle, and it's kind of like paper. So, I can't help but think, I'm not saying they did this back then, folks, but we don't really know. We don't know if they let it dry out before they did the sacrifice. Did they cut it out of the, I guess they did slaughter the animal right at the altar. That's a good point. I'm just answering my own question. If they slaughter the goat right at the altar and splatter the blood, and then they cut the organs out with the fat, they must have taken the fat right on to the organs. And then because the organs are kind of lighter than meat, I would think that they would be more likely to burn, because maybe the fat around the organ would burn out a lot of the water in the organ, and then the organ would burn on itself. It's probably a very interesting experiment to run. Maybe you get like a chicken or something, like, from the store with all the organs. Maybe take the organs out and give that a shot. So anyways, I do think it's interesting, with all these sacrifices of the organs and the fat of these animals. So then it goes to procedures for grain offerings. And I noticed, with regards to the Leviticus 2, the big thing is to, you take your choice flour, olive oil, as well as frankincense. And then, you bring it to the Aaron's son, and then the priest will scoop it out of a handful of flour moistened with oil. It does kind of sound like hummus, doesn't it? When you think about this, you think, like I'm sitting, I'm not trying to be that funny. Like, I'm just saying. I'm not used to sitting by my wife while I'm doing this, folks. Usually she's in the other room and she kind of listens in, but she's kind of chuckling as I talk. So I can't help but think maybe you guys are chuckling a lot when I'm talking about this stuff. But I'm just kind of speaking my mind as to what I think is going on here. So, but going back to, this hummus and so forth. So you take the oil, you take the choice flour, and it's not exactly hummus. I know hummus is chickpeas and other stuff. I'm just kind of making an analogy and so forth. Yeah, I know. You're right, Gretchen. I know it's garbanzo beans, or sometimes it's, I think it's, what the heck is it? Garbanzo, there's that one. What's the other one? Chickpeas? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, is it? So garbanzo has a chickpea?
Garbanzo.
They're the same thing as a chickpea? Is it? I didn't know that. I thought they're two different types of peas. Maybe they're not. Is it one a chickpea and then they're garbanzo? Hold on. We need to go to the videotape here. Let's see what you can find.
Yeah, garbanzos, chickpeas, they're legumes.
They're both the same thing? No, but they're different classes of legumes, correct? Hold on. They're both legumes, but I think they are the same. So Maria's saying there's...
seem unrelated. They are, in fact,
They are, in fact, the same bean. You are absolutely right. So you know what? This whole time I thought I was getting two different types of hummus my whole life. And so I'm looking at one label and it's garbanzo beans. The other one I'm looking at and it's chickpeas. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I don't know why this one tastes better than this one. It must all be in my head. So anyways, just kind of laughing. It is pretty funny. But anyways, we take our chickpeas or our garbanzo beans and we take a little bit of olive oil. And I'm not exactly sure what frankincense tastes like, but I definitely need to check that out. I think we should try to get some. What's it smell like?
It smells good, but I wouldn't want to eat it.
I would probably try to eat it.
We have the essential oils.
I don't know. We should give it a shot. I do like matzah too. That's what, there you go. Flour, oil, no yeast, symbolic of Jesus. And you know what else is matzah's common in? Go to a Roman Catholic Church, you go up for communion, folks. And every time I think about communion and the host, before you get the body and blood of Christ, you get a host that kind of reminds me of matzah. So here you go. There you go. Jesus bridging the gap between the Jewish faith of the Old Testament and the New Testament with the Christian faith. And in terms of the Jews, they celebrate with matzah, and the Roman Catholics celebrate with the host wafer in Mass with the body. That's the body of Christ, and then we got the blood with the wine. So anyways, I did think that was kind of interesting when I was reading this, because this whole ceremony on behalf of the procedures for the grain offering and, thinking about it from the standpoint, once again, Aaron's sons and the priests, all the steps that they took. And now keep in mind, this is pretty interesting as well. I want to tell you something about a Polish tradition. So do not use any yeast in preparing your grain offerings when you present to the Lord, because no yeast or honey may be burned as a special gift presented to the Lord. You may add yeast and honey to an offering of the first crops of your harvest, but those must never be offered on the altar as the same as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Season all your grain offerings with salt to remind you of God's eternal covenant. Never forget to add salt in grain offerings. Now keep in mind, it was this salt that became critical in the invention of potato chips. So they took it right out of the Bible, folks. They said, you know what? We're going to make sure that there's always a reminder of the covenant of the Lord. We're going to put salt on these crackers and these potato chips. I'm just making that up. I was just making a funny joke, folks. Sorry, Holly, I'm not joking. I'm just joking. I'm just saying about the salt. It is kind of funny, though, that it is, you got all this salt in all these different foods, and it seems to be tied to religion. But what I will say that's interesting about this is during Christmas, okay, in Polish tradition, right before the meal, I think it's on actually Christmas Eve, we all have these things, and it's a larger version. It's almost like the size of a cell phone, believe it or not. It's a little bigger than this, right? So it's as big as your cell phone or whatever. It's probably about two of them. It's long. It's almost like the size of a chocolate bar. Okay, so I want you to imagine like a flat chocolate bar. And during Christmas Eve, what ends up happening is it's called a opłatek. Say that fast 5 times. Opłatek. It's not the easy word to say. But anyways, you take a opłatek, and then you take punky. I don't know how you're saying it, Sheila. But anyways, opłatek. I don't know where's the O in the płatek that you're doing, Sheila. Płatek. So maybe I'm just doing it because I'm used to saying it with opłatek. Anyways, so płatek, you take one of these opłatek, and then you take honey, and you get a little plate. You have a little it's like a little plate for salad dressing or something, and you take your płatek and you have some honey. So you put in some honey, and you could put the honey on the plate at the end, or you could put it in the before, and then you go around, and everybody's at the meal with you. You break off a piece of your płatek. And you give them, they take a piece of yours, and then you take a piece of theirs. And you go around and, you say your season's greetings. And that's the way we would start our Christmas Eve as a child. We'd have 20, 30, 40 people over, sometimes 50. You go around the table and you do this, and you give your hugs and your kisses, any kind of hard feelings that you have. You kind of, if you got an argument with somebody, especially when when my mom and dad are there. There are no hard feelings on Christmas Eve, okay? She'd give you the stink eye for a year. That's just not acceptable. But anyways, you go around the table and you break it off, and then what you do is you consume everybody's opłatek. So think about how insane liberals would get if they knew this was going on in Polish households. They'd be like, "Where are your COVID masks? Do you know how dangerous this is? You're going to break this opłatek from 30 or 40 different people around the table. Then you're going to take honey. You're going to put the honey onto all these pieces, this 39 pieces of germs from everybody that's breaking opłatek with you, breaking this miniature bread with you, and then you're going to consume it all." Because it's like, that's what you do, folks. So you ate it all. So I did that my whole life. Maybe that's why I have a good immune system. It's gotten a lot of practice. So anyways, we would do this. And when I'm kind of reading this, I'm reading the honey bit. Hey, don't be burning that honey. So I'm reading the grain offering. Then I'm thinking about the honey. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty interesting. I grew up where we would do this with the grain offering. It would be blessed. We'd view it as the body of the body, I guess, of Christ. And then we go around. Now, keep in mind, these things are blessed before Christmas Eve. And then we would take the honey and we would pour the honey onto the plate. Or you could dip it. So you could dip one piece at a time. Some people get a little crazy. They put like 4 or 5 at once. And I was always in a hurry. I would probably just scoop them all in. But anyways, I did find that pretty interesting with regards to that. And then obviously, the peace offering. If you present an animal to the herd, it may be a male or female, but it must have no defects. So now let's talk about this whole concept of no defects, because this is interesting as well. You lay your hand on the animal's head and you slaughter it in the entrance of the tabernacle. Okay, and now it may be a male or female. Same thing. They kind of go through each of the stories, and then they talk about how it gets slaughtered, and then you take the 2 kidneys and the fat around them and the loins and the long lobe of the liver, and they must be removed with the kidney and then burnt. Okay? You must never eat any fat or blood. This is a permanent law for you, and it must be observed from generation to generation. So it's interesting that you're not supposed to eat any fat or any blood. Now, keep in mind, folks, no blood sausage. So there's unbelievable. I don't know about you guys, but we grew up with blood sausage in my household. And I actually have eaten at a lot of tapas places in the city when I lived downtown, and I happen to love blood sausage. Now, I understand that when you can't eat too much blood sausage if you have a cholesterol problem, because you shouldn't be consuming blood and so forth, because you're eating more iron, especially so if you have an iron problem or a cholesterol problem. So I don't think they domesticated it and anthropomorphized like we do. So I'm not sure. Well, some people, like I've met a lot of Jewish people that have a problem with consuming different types of foods. Like they have serious problems with what happens. Like intestinal pains and so forth. I'm not sure what that's called, but they have problems, right? Like I happen to have, I've developed a really bad allergy to soy, and so, who the heck knows? All of us seem to have something going on, especially nowadays with all these chemicals, that are in all of our foods. But going back to this whole concept of of not eating the blood, not eating the fat, and then the way in which the animals were slaughtered, and they had to be strong animals. They couldn't be sick animals. I keep thinking about this concept that if you're going to sacrifice an animal to the Lord, that you want to make sure that it's the highest quality. It represents the best of what you've been able to produce or maintain in your herds. And so this is kind of, I think, what the meaning and the significance of it is that you will give the best of what you have to the Lord. And it's not just symbolic with regards to the animals, but it's also, the best of yourself. Do you give the best of who you are as a human being to the Lord? Do you give the Lord's take first? And this goes back to the concept of, which I strongly believe in, which is God first, 10 Commandments, and then the U.S. Constitution. And so the concept for God, is with regards to the concept of God first. I do believe that if you put God first, I think it must do something where it signals. You receive other kind of signals, you get other information from God. And, I was asking my wife a really, kind of crazy question about this. And I said, do you think that in your body, when you have red blood cells and white blood cells, does your mind know which one, which blood cells, red or white, it favors? Does it favor the ones that work harder? If you got a red blood cell that's really hustling in your body, it's like really getting the job done, bringing you a lot of oxygen and keeping you feeling really good. Does your body take notice, right? Does your mind keep track of that we don't know about it? And your mind's like, hey, that red blood cell is really special. This little group, I don't know where these suckers are being produced in this part of the body, but these red blood cells are really getting the job done. And so I want to make sure that they get more, they get produced more throughout this body. And anyways, I'm thinking the same thing about white blood cells. And it kind of got me thinking about this whole concept with regards to, what do you sacrifice? Do you sacrifice your best, or do you sacrifice your worst? And then, what is it? Which one do you think, what's weird? Hold on a second. Promote that one. Cheryl, I'm not sure what you're talking about. But in terms of you guys, I'm not sure what you're talking about is weird. Do you not like my analogy? You don't like my red blood cell analogy in our body? I'm trying to figure out, as I'm reading this stuff, what was being thought about possibly as this is going on. So, thinking about each of us as I try to visualize human beings. If we're each a cell in a collective human body, or one body in Christ, we're all part of one spirit in Christ. Is this possibly happening? And how would we organize it? And if we can keep track of it, and would we organize it as a subconscious decision-making process that we don't really think about it? It just kind of happens. But we would have to design it on the front end. And so the question is, did God design something along these lines with regards to, these animals? And so that's one of the things, that's one of the things I was thinking about. The other thing I was thinking about is regard to the DNA. Like, our DNA is a blueprint, and every single cell in our body has DNA to replicate our human body. It's pretty wild, right? When you think about it, that the entire blueprint of creating you as your current form resides in each and every single cell of your body. All of that information on a microscopic level resides in every single cell. All trillions of cells in your body. Think about that. Trillions of cells in your body. And every single one of them has got the master plan. Like how to create a human being, which is pretty wild when you think about it. Like there is no cell that is denied the knowledge of creating everything you are as a human being. So once again, this is a beautiful thing about fractals. It's like, Bobby, look at that. You have one cell in your body, and every single cell has the knowledge to create you from scratch. It's truly amazing. And then when I say that we're all children of God, and I said we're all equal before God, this is one of the reasons why I feel so strongly in that statement. It's not just something cool to say to me. I do believe it. I do believe that all of us have this unlimited power and connection to God on an individual level, and that we all can tap into it if we want to. Some of us just don't want to do it, right? You got to do the work. I'm just kidding. Doing the work is praying. Doing the work is clearing your mind. It's making sure that you try to live a righteous life. You try to do things that are right by the other cells in your collective body. You treat people as justly and as fairly as you can. Whatsoever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me. Remember that in church? That saying, that you treat people the way you want to be treated. You try to live by the golden rule. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't mean you treat people the way you want to be treated if you want to be treated like crap. That one doesn't apply, folks. I'm saying that statement is only supposed to apply if you have respect for yourself. You treat yourself with respect. Then you want to be sure you treat people the way you want to be treated, which is with respect. So anyways, my wife just got on the phone, so she's got to go back to work. I think she's still in some work right now. I think she complains about me working a lot. She's working. She's T minus 30 days or whatever. She's about 30 days to a baby, and she's still working. I tell her to get her butt to bed early because the baby needs to sleep. So I'm lobbying on behalf of my son. I said, my son needs a little more sleep. Get to bed. So anyways, yeah, she's not over here though right now, Jules. So she just stepped away. So good night, Holly. I hope you have a wonderful night. And so, I'm just kind of wrapping up, Holly, if you want to stick around. This one wasn't too long. So we're on to Mark 1. So we just got done with Leviticus. We must go on to other towns, and I will preach to them too. That is why I came. So this was when everybody was kind of finding out that Jesus could perform miracles, so everybody kind of found out where he was at. A man with leprosy came up and knelt in front of Jesus. If you are willing, can you heal me? Yes, I am willing. Be healed. Don't tell anybody about this. Instead, go to the priest and let him examine you. Take the offering required in the law of Moses for those who have been healed of leprosy. This will be a public testimony that you have been cleansed. Okay? So this is kind of common. Like as Jesus was kind of going through and performing all these different types of miracles, other people were learning about the power of not just Jesus, but also the power that resides within each and every single one of us and so forth. That there is no monopoly of power. There aren't these different human beings among us that have dominion over us. And I think that's the big thing and the big takeaway about Christianity and what Jesus brought to the table with regards to being here, Son of God. He can have all this unlimited power, didn't choose to have unlimited power over all of us, but came and reminded us that we each have this incredible gift and this unlimited power to connect to God on an individual level. And collectively, as and once again, for all you people that out there like, Bobby, you're talking about communism. I am not talking about communism. Communism is satanic, okay? When I say a collective, and when I use that word, collective means conscious collective decision-making. So, for example, if you force somebody to play on a team together, I don't know, a baseball team or football team, that maybe has different letters than MLB, right? We get different letters. But if you play on a baseball team or a football team, and you all consciously want to play on that team, that's not communism. That's called teamwork. Now, if you are forced to play on that team or else they're going to take away food from you or anything else, now that is communism. That's purely evil. And so, I just want to make that clear. When I say collective, I'm not talking about a collective that's done through government coercion, but rather a collective brought about by free people. Everybody who's on this chat tonight, nobody made you be here. I didn't make anybody be here. I'm just talking about my interpretation. You're sharing, the good word with me, and we're talking about it. And nobody's forcing us to be here in communion. In the sense, we're in communion. We're discussing, the teachings of God and how it can be used and applied in this crazy, wicked world that we live in to make it a more enjoyable place, and hopefully we could do our part to make it a little better. That's the whole point of all this, is to constantly try to make life better, not just for ourselves, but our family, our friends, and obviously our larger community and so forth. Okay. So then so what ended up happening? Jesus knew immediately what they were thinking, so he asked them. This is what ended up happening. So it's kind of interesting. They took somebody who was paralyzed. They cut a hole through the roof because there was too large of a crowd. They took this person that was paralyzed. They lowered him down. Jesus ended up healing them on this mat, and then Jesus said to the paralyzed man, "My child, your sins are forgiven." But some of the teachers of religious law who were sitting thought to themselves, "What is he saying? This is blasphemy. Only God can forgive sins," right? This is, once again, a massive shift. It's a paradigm shift, if you think of it that way. A massive paradigm shift that occurred in humanity. And Jesus knew exactly what they were thinking. They were trying to think about a way to throw Jesus under the bus. Let's call it what it is, folks. There was a lot of really bad people that were trying to throw Jesus under the bus. And Jesus responded, "Why do you question this in your hearts? It is easier to say to the paralyzed man, 'Your sins are forgiven.'" Or what is it? Is it easier to say to a paralyzed man, "Your sins are forgiven," or "Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk"? So I will prove to you that the Son of Man has the authority on earth to forgive sins. So Jesus turned to the paralyzed man and said, "Stand up, pick up your mat, and go home." And sure enough, that's what the man had done. And nobody's ever seen anything like it. So that's what Jesus ended up doing. And he basically proved to everybody that, you know what? I'm the Son of God. I can do what I want, folks. And that's what I would say with regards to Jesus, is that all of this power, this unlimited power of Christ, and each of us can tap into our own version of this unlimited power, and we can amplify it. That's the pretty cool thing about life. You can amplify all of this power that resides within each one of us by asking for God's help to amplify it. It's pretty cool. so the more you kind of amplify this power that each of us has, you can. I don't know what the heck happened. All of a sudden, it's getting a little darker. You can work on it. Once again, we talked about this as well. It's like it's like training a muscle. The more you do it, I think hopefully, as we've kind of gone through this, is day 47. I happen to think that I'm feeling more spiritual. I would hope so, right? I hope everybody else is feeling, more spiritual and feeling better and happier. Maybe, hopefully, talking about this, listening to, I guess, the discussion and everything. Maybe people are feeling like it's making them more productive in their in their lives and so forth. And all it is we're just reading the book, the words, and talking about the words in the greatest book ever written. And so it's pretty cool that this book sits on probably, so many people's bookshelves. It sits there for years, and it's lonely. It's just sitting there like, why doesn't my friend come and talk to me? Like, why don't they pick up the book and just kind of talk about what they think it means? Because everybody has the ability to interpret it. That's what makes the Bible such an incredible book as well, is regardless of where we are in our lives, what we've learned up to that moment in time, what we're learning on any given day, we can read it and it can have a completely different, powerful meaning through any stage of our life. And that's a pretty special thing, is that we can do that. And so anyways, let's go to Psalms 35. How long, O Lord, will you look on and do nothing? Rescue me from the fierce attacks. Protect my life from those lions. Then I will thank you in front of the great assembly. I will praise you before all the people. Don't let my treacherous enemies rejoice over my defeat. Don't let those who hate me without cause gloat over my sorrow. They don't talk of peace. They plot against innocent people who mind their own business. Folks, when I was reading this, I was thinking about our country right now, that we have a bunch of very bad, evil people involved in government across all levels of government, not just the federal government, not just the state government. Local government is very corrupt as well. And they're constantly plotting against people for their own self-greed. They follow a lot of the 7 deadly sins. They're usually lazy. They follow sloth. They don't do shit. Okay? Then they're prideful. They think that they matter more than everybody else. Then they're envious. If somebody has more than them, they try to figure out how to tax it away from them and steal their money. And then, you think about wrath. They try to use the government weaponized against the people. So you got that deadly sin. My wife would love this right now. She's like, Bobby, you really love your 7 deadly sins. You like to go to the seven deadly sins. They look gluttonous. A lot of these politicians are morbidly obese, and they just eat as much as they can from the government trough. They take as much money as they can from it. And then, so that's the sloth one. And then you got greed. They try to figure out how to get more for themselves at the expense of everybody else. And then they're definitely lustful. How many politicians have you heard about that, basically lust over, underage girls, underage little boys, all this other crap that these sick bastards do. That then they get blackmailed with this information, especially if they're dumb enough to go to China where they have cameras on every room and every hotel, and then they send over, Chinese hookers and everything else over to their room and just literally, they set them up and they take advantage of them because they're too stupid to realize that, something was off. When they look the way they do, and then some woman shows up, that's like 20 years old or whatever, they should think about it. Anyways, they're very weak people, and we should pray for them. Should pray that they resist the temptation, especially if they're in a position of power where they have an impact over our life. All joking aside, I don't wish ill will on any of these people, especially the ones that are elected and they should be trying to do something good for the country, even if they're not rightfully there. Hopefully you pray for them that they can actually, they can maybe turn away from their evil ways and do the right thing for the American people. So they don't talk of peace. They plot against the innocent who mind their own business. They shout, aha, with our own eyes. We saw them do it. This is once again the corrupt mainstream media always trying to pin fake things onto people that are innocent. O Lord, you know all about this. Do not stay silent. Do not abandon me, O Lord. Wake up, rise to my defense. Take up my case, O God, my Lord. Declare me not guilty, O Lord my God, for you give justice. I'm really waiting for that justice, folks. I don't know how long we have to wait, but we got to keep waiting because we definitely need more justice as soon as we possibly can. Don't let my enemies laugh about me and my troubles. Don't let them say, look, we got him where we wanted him. Now we will eat him alive. May those who rejoice at my troubles be humiliated and disgraced. May those who triumph over me be covered with shame and dishonor. But give great joy to those who came to my defense. Let them continually say, great is the Lord, who delights in blessing his servant with peace. Then I will proclaim your justice, and I will praise you all day long. So let's see. So now that's it. Whew. Holly, I thought you were going to bed. What happened? What's going on, Holly? I thought you said you were going to bed. So anyways, the best Bible study I've ever been. I'm really... What, this one? You're saying all the other ones? It only took me 45 times to try to hit my stride. I'm just joking around. Jules. Anyways, geez, man, everybody's kind of piling on to this one. I'm just saying. Interesting word today on Elijah Streams with Johnny Elbow. Yes, you are. So this one's interesting, Proverbs 9. The woman named Folly is brash. She is ignorant and doesn't know it. She sits in her doorway on the heights overlooking the city. She calls out the men going by who are minding their own business. What's going on with the light? It's kind of really weird. Okay, minding their own business. Let me see. Come with me, she urges the simple, to those who lack good judgment. We were just talking about judgment, right? All these damn politicians. Stolen water is refreshing. And that sounds like the Bush daughters, right? Stealing all the water down in South America. Remember that when they were selling the rain back to the people of Bolivia, like 3 to 5 times what they were making, what it should have been sold for. It's kind of weird, man. My cheek is like looking different colors. I don't know what's going on with the light bulbs today. Anyways, this is stolen water is refreshing to the Bush daughters. Food eaten in secret tastes the best. Who knows what the hell that means? I hope it's not what I think, but these sick bastards doing stuff to babies that I've heard horror stories about. But little do they know they are dead there. Little do they know that the dead are there. Her guests are in the depths of the grave. And so when I kind of read this, folks, I was sitting there thinking, this woman named Folly, as well as everybody else in the story, and there's a show. If you start looking up your nose, I'm leaving. What's going on here? I'm a little confused, Celicia. I'm not sure who you're talking about. Who's looking at my nose? Am I looking at my nose? I'm not sure what you're talking about. It's a sign, the flickering light. Have your church priest. You notice how it's getting dark, folks? I'm not messing with the bulbs. I'm not sure what the hell is going on. I'm just telling you, the light is changing on me. I don't know what's going on. So it just got brighter again. I don't know. Well, now it's getting dark again. It's very, very funny. About you worrying about your hair. So I'm just saying it's kind of funny. But going back to this whole thing about the graves and, with regards to Folly, I do believe there's a bunch of people that are like the living dead. And I know there's a show called The Walking Dead. And I can't help but think that they kind of go over some of this stuff, and they're talking about how a lot of people among us are literally like they're walking dead. They don't live in this life. They're depressed. Their spirit has been crushed. It's been overburdened by government. It's been their freedom, what they're capable of, unlimited power and so forth is being, it's attempted to be stamped out. And we're kind of like in this weird, I call it a circular vice. Like sometimes you think of a vice as just two plates kind of pushing together, and I kind of view it more as a circular vice. There's all these different forces from all different angles, and they're just kind of like coming together and trying to crush as many spirits as they can around us. And so, when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about the fact that, this is what we're up against right now. And you laugh for an hour. Thanks, Cheryl. I hope you're laughing as well. So we got a shot tight up the nose of my mother-in-law. Oh, that's funny. So I'll make sure that I'll keep that camera on the top part of my nose. My sister made a comment to me once. She said something. She goes, you better start shaving, Bobby, because sometimes your whiskers look like really long nose hairs. And I never really thought about that. And she said something caught it at the wrong angle. And she's like, are your nose hairs that long, or is that your little whiskers from your mustache? And I said, thanks, Chris. I go, not that I'm aware of. I don't think I got a nose hair that goes down that long. but it'd be a hell of a thing if I can grow out a nose hair that came down to the top of my lip. I mean, that would take tremendous discipline to let that sucker grow. Because someone would want to pull it away from you. But anyways, that's kind of what I was thinking about with Proverbs number 9. Okay. Oh, that's it. Look at that. We finished 10 minutes early. So we're having so much fun that the time just went by. And I don't know. I was feeling rather festive today, folks. This is not a glass of vodka. This is just strictly water. I'm not joking. It is just water. But anyways, if I can drink like this much vodka, you guys have to be like, that guy's from a different planet. If I could just drink this vodka like straight like water. So anyways, does anybody have any questions? Anybody have any comments? Only a sister could say that to you. So yeah, my sister's great. She's not bashful. She just calls it as she calls it as she sees it. And she's always been like that. So it works out pretty well. There you go. Good night, moon. Look, I actually memorized that thing. Good night, moon. Good night, room. Good night, mittens, and good night, kittens. So, hey, Ronan, how are you? No, it's just water from the filter, buddy. Anyway, zombies are known to spend most of their time in the dark, up to 46 years. That's funny. I'm 46 years old. Hey, Rouge, are you trying to tell me something? I'm 46 this year. Actually, I'm 45 right now, but I'll be 46 this year. So much that they're afraid of the light. Little known fact. Huh. That's funny. Let me see here. I know it's late. I don't know what the deal is. I'm not sure. Keep trying. What do you keep trying about? Yeah, Ronan, then shouldn't you be in bed? It's 9:30. I'm just kidding. I know you can stay up a little later. The analogy of the spotless animals and the blood cells and people in the body was interesting. I keep thinking about it. Otherwise, ourselves as a sacrifice of thanks with contrite heart. Interesting. I'm 16 and I get 8 hours. There you go. Ronan, you still need to get more than 8 hours. I've never heard of that book. Which book? Goodnight Moon? Most teens get sick. Well, that's a big problem. I think that here's what I've noticed, folks. And once again, maybe everybody has a different perspective on this, and I'm really curious, what the deal is with regards to if you don't get enough sleep, you can't clean your brain, right? Your brain doesn't have any mechanism to clean all the dirty, all the gunk that builds up, because we don't have a circulatory system that drains any of the waste out of our brain. We only bring oxygen into the brain, and any of the waste that's created from the oxygen and so forth and the nutrition brought into the brain, it gets flushed out when you get into a deep sleep, REM sleep in particular, where it gets flushed out through your spinal cord. So if you're not getting super deep sleep, you're not recharging your brain. It's kind of the time that you defrag your hard drive, right? If you think about your brain is kind of like, it's not only a processor, it's kind of interesting. It's like a hybrid. Your brain is like a processor. It's memory. It's like RAM. So you got a processor, you got RAM, and you got storage. It's like the supercomputer, because you have three completely unique things. This is a pretty cool design for a computer, folks. Actually, I'm going to talk to somebody. I'm trying to get a hold of him. We keep playing phone tag, but he designed some circuits. So this is an interesting concept. Can you design something that is a processor, a storage, as well as a RAM, all in one, just in one damn chip? Like, how would you do it? How would you design all three of those functions on one chip to do all those functions, and then to create a collection of all those cells, brain cells, for example, to tackle a computing problem on a whole different level? So anyways, I think that would be pretty cool. And I'm just trying to tell you, Ronan, why you need to get your damn sleep, because I think you need at least 9 to 10 hours. I think you're making a mistake by skimping with 8, because your brain is still developing. It's still processing and forming a lot of pathways for what you're going to use and how you're going to do things your entire life. Now, I've never heard of the book Code Breaker. I'll definitely have to check it out. Keep trying. Is there anything this man doesn't know quite a lot about? We learn something new every day here. Well, I read a lot, keep trying, and I constantly try to keep learning new stuff every day. So I'm just kind of sharing some of the things I learn, and so hopefully, if I keep working on learning new things, hopefully I'll have more stuff to share. Using body heat brain power to mine crypto. Interesting. To take a look at that. How about just help us figure out how to tap in the 80-90% of our brain power? Well, here's the thing, Maria. People talk about that all the time, that we don't use all of our brain. But my question to you is, how do you know? Just because it doesn't register on devices that we look at that think it's brain activity, maybe it's silent activity. And the analogy I would use in comparison to the universe is dark matter. Dark matter in the universe is material that is there. We can't see it. We know it's there. It occupies a lot of the space of the universe, but supposedly it occupies more space than everything else. But we don't know how the hell it works. So when you think about your brain, there's all of this stuff going on that doesn't light up on an EKG. And maybe it's doing a lot of thinking on a different level that we can't comprehend. And maybe it's doing it in a different dimension for that matter. So I'm not sure I agree with the fact that we're not already constantly tapping that brain power. We just haven't figured out how to show the world through traditional means that are visual that we are in fact tapping into it. So that's something, that I think might be going on. Finding teens actually need more sleep than 8 hours. Yep, I definitely think they need more. Let me see. Family documentary. My optical lobe has real in-time ray tracing at 16K resolution. Study was, man, thank you, Bobby, for doing. Oh, no problem. I enjoy doing it too. It's a lot of fun. I never thought of that. I'm pretty sure a 22-year-old has some dark matter up there. I think we all do. So, yep. So let me see. Anyways, with that, I think I'm going to go to bed early because I'm pretty tired, believe it or not. I was kind of like, I went to a meeting today and was kind of going over some stuff for Geneva. Geneva had a Republican meeting, so I went over and attended that to see what was going on, and because I'm a precinct committeeman, and so I was there for a little bit, so it was good. There's some new people that came out, so with that, I think it's time to hit the head. I gotta go to bed, but anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. May God bless you. God bless your family and friends. God continue to bless the greatest nation in the history of the world. Thank you, Gretchen. I'm glad you had fun, and I always have fun with everybody who joins and partakes in all this. And I hope you guys have fun and so forth. And God bless everybody. And just make sure that I hope that you have peace. And if for some reason you don't have peace, or someone in your life doesn't, make sure that they put God first. And try to live a more righteous life, and I have no doubt that peace will find them. So with that, God bless, and thank you again for joining me this evening, and have a wonderful night. Thank you.